Thanks for taking time out of your day to joining us here on the Clark Howard Show. You know, our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you so you make better financial decisions in your life. And I sure hope you had a great weekend. How'd you do spending money? If you spent too much money and you're like, oh boy, different kind of hangover on Monday, I want you to listen to what I have to say about this no spending trend that's been hot in 25. And later, there's something I need you to do to protect your money if you travel anywhere outside the United States. Ultra important. So the no spend 25 thing was really big on TikTok. I addressed it back at the beginning of the year, and it's really an idea, not a practical thing. You have to spend money, right? But it's the whole process of thinking about money. And I think how often people say, you know, well, I've been working hard, or this has happened, or that's happened, so I deserve it. Deserve whatever. And we're at brass tacks now for a lot of people. It's so hard to make it through a month with the money you're making. And so I keep thinking about this because the idea of buy nothing is incomplete. And I want you to think about this. The whole idea is shock therapy for you. You don't buy a new piece of clothing. You go shop your closet. You don't buy a new this, that, or the other. You live with what you've got. And so if you get down to the core of what this is, I used to talk about this must pay versus wants. And I've realized over time that there's more nuance to this. And so if you're in financial Armageddon, then what I've always said is true. That you spend your money only on what you must, and anything else is a want to, and you cut it out of your life. Because the stress of not having enough money before the next paycheck comes is ugly. And it leads to a lot of bad habits, like running up balances on credit cards where you're paying 25 or more % interest. Or in the worst cases, taking out payday loans or buying things pay in for, where credit is what you think is pushing the problem away, but only magnifies the problem. So I've been thinking so much about this, and this is a moving target, but where my head is now is that when you're out there and you're thinking of buying something, and let's say you're not in a disastrous situation with money, but you're not where you want to be. And if you look at things just as these are the have-tos and these are the want-tos, that too many things end up a yes in the want-to. So I think it really requires maybe a third category. Like you think of a traffic signal, you got the red light, the yellow light, and the green light. So what would be a green light for spending? What would be a have to? You got to pay your rent, right? Got to pay your mortgage. If you have a car payment, you got to pay it. You got to pay your electric bill. Those things are all clear. Where does a cell phone go? Where does any subscription go? It goes in this second category that I'll call it, that is not not totally like, well, I want to book this vacation. If money's really tight right now, that's a red light. But you got to have a cell phone, right? But what you're paying for it is a yellow light. Because there's virtually no one I know who isn't overpaying for their cell phone plan. And that's an ongoing, meaningful monthly expense. But how about buying the newest Android or iPhone? Is that a yellow light? Is that a red light? If money's tight, that's a red light, as long as your phone you have is working. Monthly bill, that's a yellow light. That's where you really think about, how do I shave this expense? If you look through your checking account or your credit card statements and you're like, I didn't know I was paying for Netflix twice. I didn't know I had, Hulu, or how many different streaming services. How many of these are out there that we're paying for, we're not even watching, and we didn't know we were subscribed to them anymore? We're definitely in yellow light territory. You go through those bills and you really look, what am I spending money on? Where would going to Starbucks be? If you're having trouble paying your bills at all, and you're running balances on credit cards, Starbucks, or anything like that, that is full red light territory. This is situational depending on where you are financially. I want you to think, because it's got to be something you can just process immediately in your head. Oh, that's a red light. I can't do that. Oh, I want to go get a bubble tea for $11 or whatever they are. I don't even know what a bubble tea is. But I see people walking around with them all the time, and they cost a lot of money. If you're not doing the things you should do financially, like saving in your Roth IRA because you're buying bubble teas, where's a bubble tea? It's not a yellow light, it's a red light. I want you really to use this, try this, because I've been noodling this in my head. How do I get in everyday life, get into your brain and get you thinking about, how am I going to get this spending under control? And so if you think of things, green light, yellow light, red light, and again, depending on where you are in your life with financial stress, there are people who things are going to be yellow that for you will be red. There'll be things that'll be red for them that'll be yellow for you. But I want you to think through, how do you get more control in your life? And I'm feeling good about this for now, and we'll see, because this is a moving target, how to help people who feel out of control with their spending to get more control with it. So what would you say in your life right now you're spending money on that you should really red light right now?
Well, I'm in a financial fast right now. I put myself on that because it was kind of the reverse. I took some vacations, spent more on vacation than I expected to. And
who doesn't spend more on a vacation than they expected to?
So now I've really clamped down, like, on eating out is the thing that I most indulge in. I really don't indulge in that many things. I spend a lot on, like, health, like a gym membership and things like that, but I'm not willing to give that up. But I've cut back everything else. My grocery bill is very low, even though, and I cook at home all the time. So I'm doing well with it. But I had to really go to beyond red light.
All right, so we're going to go visual right here. You're going to see something you don't need to see. These are my my walking shoes. And they are, for those of you who watch the YouTube show, they are Hoka's.
Especially those who don't watch because you can't see them. They're Hoka's. Very nice, very fancy brand.
People can't see on the YouTube show.
No,
that
if you're
says
listening,
Hoka?
they
Yeah,
can
if you're
see.
listening,
You
that's
can
why I'm saying if you're listening.
You said if you're watching.
I said it backwards.
Yeah, it's
okay. Sorry. So anyway, Hoka's have been great for my feet. Absolutely great. They're so expensive. So those of you watching the YouTube show saw that mine look like I'm a Smurf. That's what Lane calls it.
Or you're a Florida Gator fan. They're blue and orange.
Okay. Anyway, so my Smurf shoes, let's call them.
Okay.
So why did I buy the Smurf color? Because they were on clearance. I paid $81 for them. And I'm wearing, can you believe I spent that much
I'm
on
shocked
shoes?
at you. I know they're normally well over 100 for those, but.
So I got completely suckered on Amazon into buying a pair of shoes that there were all these ads for that people said they're just as good or better than Hoka's, but they cost a whole lot less. Well, they weren't for me. So $42 down the drain on those.
Couldn't return them?
Well, I wear shoes to see if I'm gonna wear them in.
Okay.
So they would have been unsellable for an Amazon seller. So I just couldn't do that. So I donated them.
All right.
And I've tried all different brands that are cheaper, trying to find something as comfortable for me as these Hoka's. And I'm just going to keep wearing ugly colors when they go on clearance, or they discontinue a model and they're getting rid of the old one.
Well, that's a classic, very important purchase. You walk like over 18,000 steps a day minimum normally, and you have had back issues in the past. I mean, you need quality shoes to walk on, but you'll save money on other stuff that you don't care about all the time. I mean, you save money on those. I'm just saying, like, the $80 investment is worth it.
It's not an investment. Oh my goodness!
It's an investment in your health.
No.
Yes.
No.
Because if you hurt your back, how much is that going to cost?
I just feel like I just walked into a Best Buy and the salesperson is trying to con me into buying the worthless extended warranty on a TV.
Well, that's
saying,
extreme.
Don't you want to protect your investment? TV is not an investment.
Mom,
These shoes,
he's being mean to me.
These shoes are not an investment.
Okay, Clark.
They are spending so that I have comfort in my feet. You're not even talking to me now. It's okay.
All right.
I think it's time for Krista to submit a Clark
questions.
Stinks.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you there.
You didn't offend me. You know that. If you really offended me, I probably wouldn't say anything.
You just would have punched me in the face. You're so strong.
I'm not
Krista's
mean.
doing so much strength training that she needed to change a tire and her jack wasn't working, so she just lifted up the car.
You're asking for it today. All right. Rod in Colorado. Recently, my Venmo app said it had lost connection with my bank. It turns out the reason it needed to reconnect was to reestablish connectivity through Plaid. The Plaid process included, without opt-out ability, granting Plaid access not only to the bank account I want to continue to use to transact via Venmo, but also access to all accounts that I have at that bank, all past transactions in all accounts, all past monthly statements for all accounts, and all tax forms for all accounts. A gross overreach for simply creating a connection with a single checking account from which to conduct my Venmo payment transactions. Bye-bye Venmo, not happening. I thought this was a good follow-up to the other day when you were talking about that.
Yeah, talking about Venmo. All right. So Plaid is this bank tool owned by the banks that Venmo is using as a method that doesn't have, it's not the only one you have to use, that they verify that you're legit, that you're really who you say you are and all that. And the permissions are crazy that you're describing. I've not heard this about this level of deep dive permissions you're giving. But again, if you do what I've talked about before and set up a separate account for your Venmo or Cash App at an alternate financial institution. What you do with that institution is you have money in it just to cover the amount of transactions you're doing on Venmo or Cash App. Then the fact that they may validate through Plaid should not be of harm to you. But yes, it is ridiculous, the permissions that are often buried deep in the policies of services you're using, and it's all to the advantage of, the lawyers write it, all to the advantage of the banks, and obviously not to your advantage.
Michelle in Missouri says, Clark, my state will soon offer complete digital estate planning and recognize electronic wills. In what ways will this benefit me, and will I still need an attorney?
So, Michelle, whether the whole idea of the digital will is, or electronic will, is something that technology has allowed for a long time, but state laws have mostly around the country not caught up to it. I didn't know that Missouri had passed a statute permitting electronic wills. Whether a will is electronic and properly validated through an electronic process, or it's a paper will, doing a will depends on the complexity of your situation, whether you're okay with a software program to do a will, or you need the help of a professional. You own a business, normally that says you need a lawyer to do a will. You got a lot of assets, you're going to need a lawyer to make sure that a will is done properly. You have a complicated family situation. You got kids from prior marriages. You got you're married, and each spouse has kids from a prior marriage, and then you might have kids together. Situation like that, don't do a will any other way but with a lawyer. In other words, if you have a very simple situation in your life and you want to prepare your own will and use a software program like WillMaker or something like that, and that's absolutely fine, you're good to go. Whenever you say, oops, I'm one of those check marks, you don't do your own will. And so that's when you spend what seems like big money but is cheap money versus the problems you could cause by trying to do your own will when your situation has too many complicating layers, and then you need that lawyer for it. You don't want to cause problems for those that you wanted to help after you pass away because you thought what you did covered the situation. It didn't. And let me point out once again, if you have minor children but you don't have assets, you need a will, because if you don't do one, the state will decide who raises your children, not your wishes. And that crazy brother you have or something, the state might decide, oh, that's who's going to raise your kids. So you've got to do a will when you have minor children, period. If your situation's simple, it can be a will you do yourself.
Jennifer in Connecticut says, because of Clark, I learned years ago that I need to freeze my credit files. I wanted to let people know that if you know a company is going to pull your credit for something, you can ask them which credit agencies they pull from and just thaw that agency. I've done this several times now. Thanks for all you do.
And Jennifer, thank you, because I have found that more often you can ask that question and they actually know the answer at Customer No Service, where it used to be they were like, we don't know, and you'd have to thaw all three files. But now they generally will know more often than not, and you do only have to thaw one file. And make sure you click the right button when you're at a credit bureau. Credit bureaus hate credit freeze, and I've noticed that they which one in particular? I better remember which one it is, because I had to thaw my file recently, and they had it almost hidden for a temporary lift of a freeze, as they call it, and they had a big button to permanently remove the freeze, but I had to go hunt to find out how to do a temporary thaw, and that's just uncool. So make sure when you do it that you are doing it for a minimal specified period of time. Coming up ahead, there's something you got to be aware of with criminal gangs or just criminals acting as lone rangers to protect yourself when you are using payment cards. There's something you got to know. In walking cities, and most Americans, let's face it, don't live in walking cities, there's a lot of pickpocketing going on. And so most Americans are only going to experience this if you're on a trip to, let's say, central Boston, central San Francisco, central New York City, because anywhere else, we're card dependent. But when you're in a city, again, mostly when Americans travel overseas, and you pull out a payment card, next thing a criminal may see is where it goes back into your pocket. Or a woman, where you're putting it, if it's on the back of your phone or whatever. And you got to be really vigilant, being careful when you use them and being aware who's around you. And there's been a big problem with ATMs. And people don't use ATMs nearly as much as they used to. But when people travel outside the United States, they're more likely to use an ATM to withdraw money in local currency. So criminals are targeting you, and they're watching you. Many times they'll work with an accomplice who's watching you punch in your PIN code with binoculars. And they're communicating with each other, and they'll say, okay, she just put her card back in this pocket, or, this place on the purse. Or a guy, they'll say, oh, he just put it in his right pocket, grab there, and they'll get your card. But this is the thing. They've already got your PIN. They have targeted you and your card. And the New York Times did a story recently about how the banks, if somebody has your PIN and your card gets stolen, the banks are treating you as the guilty party till proven innocent. And New York Times specifically wrote about how Citibank was refusing to cover ATM theft of cards when the person, the criminal, also had the PIN. And they were saying, tough on you. And so it's a real thing. You cover with one hand while you type in your PIN with the other hand, so that you do not become a useful target for the pickpocket rings. And so even they're waiting for the individuals to just go up, beep, 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 punch in, get their money, and walk away. Bam, what an easy crime for them. Before you can even report it, they've already used your card to steal money. And in a lot of other countries, you have to have a PIN to do retail shopping. So they're not just trying to use it to get money out of an ATM. They're using it to then buy things. And that PIN is looked at as card present and almost like a signature. And you're guilty, again, till proven innocent with your financial institution. So I don't want to make you paranoid. I want to make you prepared and know that this has been low-hanging fruit. And Citibank's wrong here. And after the New York Times did the story, Citibank then covered the disputed charges for people in that story. What about everyday people who this happens to? And, banks have so much discretionary power. And now that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has basically been put on ice, there's not anybody the banks are worried about looking over their shoulders trying to enforce the laws. So now you and I have got to be more careful each and every day. Krista?
All right. This one came in from Doug in Georgia. Clark, I bought changeable tickets on Delta to Korea with expensive round trip prices. I did what you recommended and I watched prices for the next few months. And at one point, the price dropped more than $500. When I tried to change to the new fare on the website, I could only get the new price if I changed the type of ticket I had, i.e., I had to go to a lower basic ticket or higher class ticket. It would not let me change to the new fare with the exact same ticket class I had already. I contacted customer service and they said that it was not allowed and I could only do what was allowed on the site's change page. I complained for a while and they eventually said they would give me a one-time exception and I got the credit. How do you manage this type of situation? I was counting on it being an easy change to get the lower fare and credit, but it really wasn't. Thanks for your advice.
So either this is a longstanding practice at Delta I'm not aware of. I've not seen this before, that when a fare drops, that they make you jump through extra hoops to get the lower fare. And this is really important right now, as I've addressed on multiple podcasts and YouTube shows, that airline bookings have been softer than they anticipated, and airlines have been cutting fares, and that's why you keep checking if you bought a ticket well ahead of time, particularly for international, but also potentially for domestic. So how would you handle that? So go do a separate search. If the fare is available at the lower price, you could cancel the ticket and have an immediate credit, and then immediately use that credit to rebook, and then you'd still have the leftover credit for, what'd you say, $500 a ticket? You'd have it. It is ridiculous that, and I'm only hearing that this is what happened to you, that Delta would have a company policy that if you called in, that, well, we'll do it for you as a one-time exception. That's just not the way you treat people.
Okay, Michael in Georgia says, I recently booked airline tickets to Europe via a full-time travel agent that I've known for decades. Her fare was higher than what was published online for the same flights. The explanation was that she was booking with a different code that gave us an advantage if the flight is canceled or delayed. She said that multiple clients got stuck in European airports after booking extra cheap airfare online, and their flights were canceled. After I heard your advice to rebook travel to Europe because of falling prices, I asked her, and she said her tickets did not allow that. What do you think of this?
I can't figure out the situation at all. That's really odd. So she's saying you buy it through her at a higher price that's going to give you more protections in the event there's a big delay or cancel of your flight. But then if a lower fare comes along, you're not eligible for it. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. I can't understand what she'd be referring to. You said this is an agent you've known for a long time, not a friend based on what you said, the way you described it. You may not want to use that individual anymore because that explanation just doesn't add up. Now, you don't get your money back when the fare drops, but you do get a credit towards future travel on fares other than basic economy, which a lot of the airlines say you bought it, you thought you were saving money. Joke's on you, you're not. So I, without being in the situation, I have no clue exactly what this travel agent's referring to.
By the way, going back to the Delta question earlier, I wonder if this could have something to do with the way that they've changed their fare classes. I don't know if that's true for the foreign fares like this one. Like maybe the fare classes changed in between booking and now this new flight, like where they have extra, there's like multiple main categories and...
Yeah, so I've never addressed that specifically. All right, so let me address that. So Delta is the most powerful U.S. airline. And everybody in the industry lets Delta put its neck out there and experiment. And then if the things work, then everybody copies Delta. And that's why everybody's being quiet about Delta using AI to set fares. In addition, Delta is breaking down every part of the cabin into multiple fare types. So it's not just coach that you could buy a basic coach ticket. Delta is actually planning to have various levels of tickets for every type of seat on the plane, including even their international business class, domestic first class, where they will strip out benefits and offer you a lower fare. So the odds are there will be a basic first class, there will be a basic business class, basic coach, basic Delta calls their extra legroom Comfort Plus. And so others are watching this and seeing how this works. Does it confuse people, overwhelm them, or does it actually generate additional revenue to devalue the experience in each of these and then offer the sell-ups? Does the sell-up generate more revenue, or do people say this is too complicated, I'm going to go buy that ticket from United or go whatever? And only time will tell on that. American CEO has been very outspoken that Delta is really stepping into it with the using AI to set fares. And Delta's moving forward that by December, they hope to be setting 1 in 5 tickets prices by AI, figuring out what they think is the most you'll pay for a ticket.
You know what I have on your calendar for you in the next show on Wednesday to talk about buying tickets, because I know you told me you're doing that even different than the last time. Like, you have new information on that. So we should do a whole segment.
Delta's part of that angle as well.
Yeah. So we'll do that Wednesday for sure. Okay, one more here from Kathy in Georgia.
Okay.
Clark mentioned on a previous podcast that Lane also can pack for a 2-week trip with only a carry-on case. What would she be willing to do a special podcast and show us women just how that's possible? I have curly hair made frizzy by humidity and need products to combat all that. I take my own hair dryer with the brush attachment that also helps. I would really like to get suggestions on how to leave stuff behind and still look good. Thanks so much. And Lane always looks great, I mean, no matter where, but definitely when she's on vacation.
Okay, should we see if she'll come on the podcast and show, or we can shoot a video?
Yeah, I love that.
We'll shoot a video for Clark.com of Lane packing for a 1 to 2 week trip.
And youtube.com/Clark, where you should subscribe.
Always selling, aren't you, Krista?
Sorry.
Yeah, so Lane has been able to do this for everything, but when we go on a trip that's like 17 days or longer, she will want to take a how do you say that word?
Checked bag.
Yeah, bag. But shorter than that, couple of weeks, she's able to do it and carry on with a backpack. And yeah, so let's see if she's willing to share her secrets.
Yeah, for sure.
By the way, a lot of people who have really adopted this have done a lot with the compression packets, packs. What do you call those? That actually compress down your clothes. There's all kinds of YouTube videos from people who show how they pack for a long trip in a carry-on. One thing a lot of people are into is they roll their clothes in the suitcase instead of fold their clothes in the suitcase. But anyway, yeah.
I do.
We'll see if Lane is up to the challenge.
I think she would be awesome. If I'm on a 2-week trip, I look for a laundromat in the city, like near where I'm staying. I love a wash and fold, but if not, I'll do the laundry myself one day just to refresh my clothes, because I can't make it in a carry-on for 2 weeks unless I do that.
It is so easy for me, obviously, as a guy. I mean, I just wear the Clarkiform every day of my life. Yeah. All right. Well, enough about that. And then I'm going to talk about this other airfare thing you said.
On Wednesday, yeah.
On Wednesday? Thank you for telling me that. All right. Krista has predicted the future.
We'll make it happen.
So I hope you have a great, great rest of your day. By the way, if there's something about your wallet that you would like some one-on-one advice for it, we offer that for free. And we've been doing so since 1993. That rhymes, free since 93. And so you can talk with a member of Team Clark at the Consumer Action Center and just go to clark.com/CAC to see how to get that done. And it's all about what we're about, which is empowerment through knowledge, so you can save more, spend less, and avoid getting ripped off. And I'll be with you on Wednesday, as Krista said.